All right, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're jumping right into today. As you can see, the Nasdaq mounted previous all-time highs and just went kind of crazy. It went berserk. We go into ES, look at the S&P 500. You finally got the breakout as well. We looked for the break, the mount of that clear level, 55.90, and then shot back up into those levels as well at all-time highs. And the only sector that maybe is lagging behind is the Dow, just sitting at that level right now. But again, as you see on the Dow, when you zoom out, you're clearly in a pennant here, getting ready to go crazy as well. I do believe this coming week will give us a lot of answers and a lot more direction as well, if we're not already getting all the direction in the world that we want. Because number one, when we go into next week, you don't have too much across the board until we go into the 11th and the 12th. So the 11th, which is Thursday, you'll have your core CPI numbers. That's going to be very big. Jobless claims again. And then you also have PPI. So CPI and PPI, your inflation data coming in there. Now, after that, again, that will be a pretty big indication on the market. Now, what I will say is going into the beginning of next week, a lot of the questions are going to be, what do we expect? What are we looking for? And right now, I'm going to tell you right now, I expect buyers to follow through going into the beginning of this coming week. But we'll have to wait and see as of right now. But we look at the DXY getting hammered back to the downside. We look at what's happening with the 30-year yields getting hammered back to the downside. These are things that we wanted to happen. Okay. And again, when we look at what happened today, this morning, guess what happened? Unemployment numbers came out and the unemployment rate rose again to 4.1%. This is the first time that we've seen a steady increase on unemployment, at least the unemployment rate. Now, again, you have these areas of where you see jobs being added, but then you see the unemployment rate rising. And this goes back to show you that how we are measuring our unemployment really is an issue right now. But our unemployment rate is not lying to us. It is still rising. And this put a lot of pressure on the market to lean back towards that rate cut that's coming. And again, we've seen Powell state a few comments. If inflation data continues to drop, right? If inflation continues to slow down and move in the right direction, which it has been based on PCE, CPI, PPI, every inflation report out there, and jobs, unemployment continues to rise, then guess what? They're in an area of where they will have to start to cut rates. And I think today it's showing really clear that the central bank is risking falling behind the curve. Now, why would that be bad? Okay. Now, one thing that really caused a lot of issues when we look at why why inflation surged so rapidly and why the market was in such turmoil for about a solid year, which usually doesn't happen when we just go down for a straight year, down here. That's because inflation was just rising and rising and nothing would.
Okay, so this is probably not the first time that you've seen me talk a lot about the sponsor of today's video, Mumu, but I haven't told you about why I decided to partner with them, and I should be transparent with what's happening there and why they're going to be a partner for the foreseeable future. So partnering with Mumu for me has been a little bit of a game changer in what we're doing with the channel, because we like to do a lot of free content, but ultimately what we're doing with them is unlike any other trading platform. Mumu has a super robust, user-friendly mobile platform when it comes to news, when it comes to options, their watch list, everything like that. The mobile and desktop allows me to effortlessly look through and analyze everything that I'm looking at. It's all kind of in one place, especially before executing anything. And speaking of executing, Mumu is offering a zero contract fee for options and only charges 50 cents when you're trading index options. So very important to know that as well. Unlike other platforms which have a similar offer, Mumu provides me with deep analysis and unusual options activities. So instead of using other platforms, I can kind of do most of my work in one platform just like this. And this is the desktop platform, just so you can see, where I can look at unusual activity as well. If you are interested, there's never been a better time, because right now new users will get a 1.5% cash reward up to $300, or if you're just getting started, you'll get 7 free fractional shares up to $5 per if you make a qualified deposit bonus. Just go to mumu.com. It shows you all of this. It's right there in front of you, so you can make sure you have all that understand. They want to help you kickstart your journey when it comes to investing. Check them out. The link is down below.
Really slow it down. That's because they fell behind the curve and they didn't ultimately raise rates sooner, which they acknowledged. And they don't want to do the inverse of that right now and cause this to really start bringing pain on the market. Because people need to understand, when they start to cut rates, it doesn't mean that they have to cut rates every single session. It just means that they are slowly getting the market to where it needs to be. And if they cut rates, it doesn't mean they can't raise rates down the line. That's the biggest things of what we're looking at right now. So as we go into next week and we get our CPI and our PPI information, I think it's very important that we're paying close attention to that data. Because again, as you look at CPI, it's been on the decline. right? Core CPI has been on the overall decline. We saw a little bit of a spike, but ultimately coming back down. These are very important metrics I think we have to be tracking, especially on the year-over-year census, as well as looking month over month. So these are things I think we have to be paying attention to. See slowly just coming to the downside, and that's exactly what we want to see. And those are the biggest points that I can be making right now. So again, going back into the market, you look great. The S&P, the SPY, went crazy. We broke out, right? We had that little double top action. And strangely enough, we didn't anticipate and I'll say this, right? Somewhere maybe I fell short of this week on the channel was I didn't expect to get a breakout the week of 4th of July. Historically, we have low, slower moving action. So you know what? Maybe that's my fault. I'm a little bit misleading. But when we go back to the levels, I think the levels paint the clearest picture. And I want people to always realize this, right? Just like if we would have broke down on lows down here and broke below 542, it would have been a short down there. Just like we break all-time highs, it's a long opportunity. Just like when we look at names like Meta, getting back above 510 being a clear-cut long opportunity, back above 514, long opportunity, right? There's a reason we have levels. There's a reason we're watching all these things and we're paying such close attention to them, because just in case things happen that are out of what we think or out of the plan, that we still have a plan to, or a roadmap to get back on plan and make money off those options, etc. So again, I want that to be very clear on the channel, is that you have to still watch, and I can have an overall opinion, but I'm still watching my levels at the end of the day. And as we broke out, we saw some fireworks here to end the week. We saw some fireworks the day before 4th of July as well. We saw that bull flag kind of break out here, getting a really nice push back to the upside on Qs. And again, like I said, the only area of the market that's really slowing down or not up to speed with everything else, right? When we go to the Explorer and we look, it's really like, you saw banks slow down today, some energy slow down. A lot of these names are Dow oriented. And we saw semiconductors slow down as well, right? A handful of semiconductors went crazy, but we'll talk about those in a second. So again, what I'm watching, what I'm paying attention to right now, okay? And I do believe semiconductors will heat up. I personally do believe that they are going to heat up very soon, okay? Also, this is Mumu. If you guys are interested, and I use Mumu for everything when it comes to my options trading, stocks, etc. I use them for literally everything, and you're going to see them all throughout my video when I go over options as well. But if you're interested, the link is down below to check them out. It's the new broker that I've been using for the past 3 to 4 months now, and I love it so far. So again, if you're interested, the link is down below. But really quick, I want to go over a few things. Now, you're seeing, and I want to do a little bit of fundamentals before we go into the stocks, right? So if you want to just skip ahead of stocks, skip ahead, whatever. So again, people are under this notion that we can't cut rates because housing is crashing. And I have nothing against the Game of Trades guy here on YouTube. I have nothing against him. But I will, if I'm lying about something or if I'm spreading misinformation, I expect you guys to call me out. So this has been a going theme for the past few months. Caution, housing defaults have just skyrocketed. This is unlike anything we've seen in a decade. Okay, multifamily housing is totally different than single family housing. Multifamily housing, let's really conceptualize what we're talking about. Multifamily house. This is not people's homes. These are not, your stereotypical, I'm going to buy a house. So where everyone's saying that, interest rates are so high and people are going to go under on their mortgage, well, they're not. This is multifamily. This is apartments, duplexes, things along those lines. Those are more on the investor side of things, which could cause issues down the line, but they're not the red flag right now. It's also worth mentioning that most of these large corporations that own all these apartment complexes, well, if you go and look at what the Fed is saying the issue is right now at inflation, it's really housing and it's rent prices specifically. So I just want to let you know something. If you own a multifamily property, this is common sense, right? I wish I could have the camera on my face right now, but if you own a multifamily property and let's say rents aren't being met, people aren't renting out your property. Well, spoiler alert, they're going to drop the prices of the rent. Demand is being fulfilled on the side of rent and obligations there. So this is totally misleading. There's a reason he's not going over single family housing, because it's not going to be clickbait. You're not going to be interested in it because it's not a big issue right now. Really dumb statement. And honestly, housing is still booming. Construction is booming. It's kind of ridiculous. So anyways, I want that to be really clear. Anyone talking about housing collapsing is absolutely crazy right now. In 2 years, I think housing could be a very big issue, but we're not there yet. So anyways, that's what I'm looking at there. I don't need to go over too much fundamentals over this weekend. So that's the biggest thing right now. Again, the only thing as far as fundamentals you need to be paying attention to is CPI and PPI Thursday and Friday of next week. Until then, you look really good. I'll be watching out for some Fed speakers. Also, you guys, if you guys are interested, I recommend following on Twitter so you guys can get all the updates on stocks I'm liking, new stocks, things you're gonna get before they come over here. So again, stocks I'm looking at, stocks I'm liking all throughout the day. It's all there for free. So yeah. Now, Nvidia, I'm going to go into this here in a second, but Nvidia got a downgrade, one of its first downgrades in I don't know how long. It's funny enough that their target is still at 135 on this downgrade, which is above where it's at, but worth mentioning. So we look at areas, and we're going to just go over some stocks. Hopefully this is what you guys want. I'll have some more charts on Twitter as well. But let's talk about some stocks. Let's talk about some equities that you guys hopefully want to make some money on. Nvidia. It's one of the biggest names that I'm watching right now. You're coming back down. You got rejected off of 128, those little highs there. Coming back down into 125.5. I want to see you hold this level. It's your previous high from when you basically gapped up after that earnings. Then you kind of came back down and things along those lines. So anyways, you look really good on Nvidia. I'm still watching it. It's definitely a lackluster. When you go back to that heat map, you can definitely see Nvidia, AVGO definitely slowing down. Nancy Pelosi couldn't hold it up forever. AVGO hit a lot of our key levels that we were watching, now pulling back as well. I think these will end up being some pretty good opportunities, specifically on Nvidia. Again, everyone wants everyone wants to go long on, for instance, Tesla. Everyone's messaging me about Tesla. Tyler, do I go long on Tesla? I'm like, guys, I see some more upside, don't get me wrong, but what are we talking about? We were literally saying for months, you break the 200 daily, you go long. You break the 200 weekly, you hammer longs. It was very simple, what we were looking for. And now you're at 250 and we're asking these questions. It's crazy. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Nvidia. Personal opinion. So when it does happen, we'll get some good laughs and you guys will be like, hey man, it's wild. Tyler was talking about that. So let's go look at Nvidia. We look at these contracts, in my opinion, a few weeks ago, and you would have been like, these are just crazy. But now you look at contracts for January, the first week of January, right? Or the January monthlies, January 17th, right? You look at 120 contracts and they're at $23. Let's really realize what we're looking at here. Kind of crazy. In all actuality, the price that these are right now. And when you go back to Nvidia, back at highs, and there's a lot of IV that was playing out here, so I don't want to say it's going to hit exactly there, but you're at 141 on what day? That was June 20th. Worth mentioning, that was literally 2.5 weeks ago, right? Okay, so you go back to these contracts and you just hover over June 20th over here, and these contracts were at $35, right? You can see the high and low right there on the right-hand side. It's really small. Sorry, you can't see it. But right now they're $23. And these are just safer positions. You don't have to stress out as much, right? Even on the downside today, highs of $24, lows of $23, right? You're not freaking out. Now I get these are more expensive contracts, but Nvidia is just a more expensive name. And I view in the money positions as a way to lever your stock instead of going $10,000 into Nvidia. You can grab $4,000 of in the money options, down the line. But the point is you're getting value on these now, right? Up here, you weren't getting that much value. IV was all over the place. You had to be careful. You're at a decent position now, and you can go further dated if you wanted to, right? So these are things to be thinking about, because when I look at names like AMD breaking out and AMD, people are blowing me up about AMD. Guys, AMD, I'm going to be very crystal clear with you about this one too. Where you go long and where you look really good is above 174.8. Until you get above that level, I do not care. You are in a range. I am terrified. I mean, you're breaking out, don't get me wrong, but you're still in the box where you've been getting rejected at. So maybe. But when people look at AMD, you're breaking out here, do you think AMD is really going to run and make more money in the short term or even the long term than Nvidia? These are the parts that you have to start really thinking about. AMD is cool. I like the company, don't get me wrong, but they're not growing necessarily on revenue. 5.4 billion, earnings before that 6.1. What are we really talking about here? And we know Nvidia. I mean, if you had to bet your life on it, who are you betting on? You bet on Nvidia, you bet on AMD. reported $26 billion. Before that, 22 billion. Before that, 18 billion. Like you see the path of growth that's happening here. Now, eventually they're going to slow down and it's going to stall. But I'm just saying right now, like Nvidia is the name. And so when I look at these and we hyper focus and we say that there's not enough opportunities out there, guys, I think I went over this same like long rant last week, but like it is what it is. And if you bought anything down here, and there's people in Discord that made a bag off of Nvidia Octobers really think about this. October Nvidia contracts went up like 40%, 30 to 40% from 122. Not from lows, but from 122 into 128. I think the 130s on October, they literally went up 30 to 35% in a day, right? Really let that sink in of like you're able to grab time on these contracts, make volatile good money, and like you're betting on the strongest name. So again, things to think about. People are going to be asking me about Apple. I don't have nothing to say about Apple. I hope you guys were paying attention. Again, I say Twitter all the time. Follow on Twitter. When I have charts, again, you guys can scroll back and see every chart, all my rants. They're all there. But yeah, Apple, I said it was the best buy of the year when it dipped down to 210, 206. Congratulations. Probably my biggest play of the year on my swing account. So super happy with that. Apple's killing it. Amazon, I think Amazon's like a ticking time bomb. It's about to erupt. I love it. You're kind of like a flat top at 200, trying to really mount and get above 200.5. I think you look really good here on Amazon. XLY, consumer discretionary, top holdings here. The thing that you might know, Tesla and Amazon. Tesla's been obviously carrying XLY, but I do believe, as you see, you break it out of 185 there, and you're coming into your next line of resistance up here like a 191, 192. I think Amazon is the next up in this sector. I'd be watching it very closely. And I think that I think it's great. I talked about it last week. I said on the dip, it was fantastic. It was a trap, yada, yada, yada. Now you're bouncing. You look really good still. Again, they're putting up a competitor to Shein, Temu, their new chips. This is everything you want to see, right? Like they beat on earnings. They're destroying. So again, good things to see. The biggest winner of the day, though, was Meta. Congratulations to everyone in Discord that caught this name today. Over 510, I've been saying it's an easy long. One of the confirmation levels we had, though, today in Discord were right above 514. Again, you got above that level and you just started going crazy. If you follow me on TikTok as well, you probably saw this TikTok last night saying this is the best opportunity of the week, this in Netflix, or for the rest of the end of the week. So again, you broke all-time highs. You're at 540. You're killing it. Again, it's the same story though, guys. I try to give you backgrounds why I believe this based on fundamentals as well as technicals, and I'm trying to educate you guys while we're doing it. I'm not trying to just give you and like say, hey, go long, right? That's never the point of the channel. Hopefully, so we're educating and teaching along the ways as well. So make sure that you're really paying attention to what we're doing here, guys. The contracts that I was saying here on Meta, and this is what I talked about in Discord. I was very clear about this. I think I said this. Yeah, I said the 719s, the 530s. These 530s, I want to let you guys know today, right? And this is not to flex or say I'm better than anyone or this or that. This morning, guys, they were at, I won't even say the low. I'll say the high, or $8, right? Off the initial bounce this morning. They were at $4 on Wednesday, okay? They closed the day at $19 a contract. $19. Like you could have went 540s and still made absolute bank. But it's still, like, have a plan, understand what and why you're looking for something, and then execute on that plan, right? There's no excuse. There is so many great plays out there right now. Netflix, another major play I've been hammering home to you guys. And it's honestly, this is probably the next one that's going to pop off. It's pretty incredible what's happening. You're breaking up, you're retesting, you're shooting up. I've been hammering this home on Twitter. You'll see some more charts over the weekend here. You're mounting your 690 level. And again, what I talk about on Netflix, Discord, you guys all know, right? I said the June 12th, this is next week's contracts. I said the 700s. These things, crazy undervalued. On Wednesday, these were like at $2. But like to this morning, they were at $4 and like 40 cents, give or take. Still, they were still way undervalued. They ended up hitting highs today of $9, and honestly, they're probably still going to continue to run. They have earnings on the 18th, so beware, don't go crazy. But again, you're trying to find the names that have the value, where where you're not getting crazy movement. Well, everyone's hyper focused on Tesla, which is a great move, but the time to buy Tesla was not up here. It was, down here, down, and when you broke here. Those are your times to buy. And again, these are why did we know that? Because we've been ready. We've been preparing. We've been watching, right? Even down here, we were hyping it up when you broke above 194, like over and over and over. So again, it's having that plan, doing the research, preparing yourself, understanding so you're not surprised when something happens. Now, was I a little surprised today on Meta? I'm not gonna lie. I was a little surprised. I didn't expect us to have a $30 move on the day, but awesome. Another big name I'm watching right now, CrowdStrike. Must watch, must watch, must watch. If CPI and PPI go well, I'm looking for CrowdStrike to absolutely erupt. You've already broken your previous all-time highs. You got above basically 360. We traded this one back here during earnings and everything like that. Now you're having an ascending triangle at basically 393. You're going to be trying to go for 400 very soon as well. Very interesting name here because when you look at these options, again, I still think they're undervalued. I really do. I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm day trading this, I'm looking for the 719s for the 400 so I can hold some if you actually get parabolic. You can go for what's happened August 16th. The 420s are 750. That's incredible, very cheap. You can go for 400s, $14. I still think those are very cheap. Again, CrowdStrike, a big name. Some of those names in the sector we've been mentioning for weeks. ZS, you mounted the 200 SMA. I said this was a cheaper option back here. Once you mounted, you did. You pushed up to 202, 204. Congratulations. PanW, also a really big name here. Once you mount 351, I think you're going to all-time highs, my opinion. But again, we called this one down here at 296. So again, these are other consolidation winners if you're interested. But those are the names that I'm watching. So I hope this makes sense. I hope you're paying attention to these. I think there's monster plays, and I continue to go over these. And I still think the market's very, very strong. And what will dictate when the market is weak? What will dictate when things change broad market? It's very, very simple. This man has said it over and over. When bad data comes in, when we see inflation data start to rise once again, that's when there will be issues. That's when there should be concerns. Until then, I don't know how you could be bearish whatsoever. It makes no logical sense. That's just my opinion, though. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense there. I know I'm maybe a little bit more less emotional today's video, but again, hopefully I'm getting across to some of you guys with what's happening. This has really been some of the best weeks of trading that we've had. If you guys are not following on Twitter, you are doing yourself a disservice. I am trying to make as much free content as possible. I think I've been going a little bit crazy with it, to be honest, but make sure that you're tapping in here. Also, too, Jay's gonna be mad, but the newsletter, make sure you sign up as well. It's free. Every Sunday it goes out, so make sure you tap in. Again, absolutely free content every single week. We are dumping it out for you guys, so hopefully you guys are tapping in. There's no reason to be, there's no reason to be losing right now in the market, to be honest. We're going straight up. This is the easiest weeks. You kind of just throw a dart at a wall and you make money here. There's no reason for me to even be overconfident because it's been just such a great week. So have a good one, traders. I'll see you on Sunday. Hopefully you made some money.